Heather Archuletta is a true believer. The California native now lives in a town outside Austin, Texas, where she plays hockey and works in the virtual world as an IT professional. But it's human spaceflight that really gets her going, and when she found out she could help get us to Mars, she jumped at the chance. In fact, she jumped into bed. NASA and earlier agencies have been conducting bed rest studies for decades. The physiological and psychological knowledge gained has helped prepare us for long-duration spaceflight and has benefited Earthbound medical research. I got her on the Skype connection a few days ago. Heather, I admit when I got a call from basically a PR guy who said, hey, you ought to talk to Heather, I thought, well, how much is there in that for our show where we usually are talking to scientists and astronauts and engineers and so on. And I'm so glad that I did, because it turns out there's a heck of a lot going on in your life beyond this bed rest study. I think in our initial conversation, I accused you of being a space groupie, which I think you're a heck of a lot more than that. How would you describe yourself?
Oh gosh, well I hope so. I like to think of it more as being a space enthusiast. I actually do IT for a living, but I wanted to find something a little more unique to do, and space has always been a side interest of mine. And when I found this study, I just thought it was a great extension of my interest in space, and I learned a lot more about space science and our quest for Mars than I had known before. I don't know, it's something that I'm really proud of. I love the fact that we're still reaching out, and I hope that we get to the red planet. And these types of studies will tell us a lot about health concerns, blood pressure, anti-gravity, all the things that they need to keep in mind when they're trying to get a human as far away as Mars is.
Amen to all of that, and I also congratulate you and thank you for being part of this effort to prepare us for those very long trips in weightlessness. When did you finish, and how long were you stuck in bed?
Stuck in bed. I was stuck in bed for 50 days. The original program was supposed to be 90 days, but unfortunately Hurricane Ike chased us out of there on September 11th of 2008. So just almost exactly 6 months ago now.
Wow. How did you even find out about the program?
I read about it on the Wired Science blog, and it had been in a couple of other smaller publications at that point.
What did it take for you to get into the program? I mean, was there I assume there was a somewhat strict screening process.
Intense screening process, yes. Blood draws, drug screening, background check. I think they even did a credit check. You have to pass a flight physical, neurological exam, physical exam, bone scan, EKG. It's almost like you're going through, modified astronaut training. They have to prove that you're so healthy they can afford to tank your health a little bit to learn about what happens in microgravity to your muscles, your joints, your heart, your bone density, stuff like that.
Well, sure. I mean, it makes sense. You'd have to be pretty much as healthy as your typical astronaut. Otherwise, the study might not mean that much.
Right. And you also have to prove that, you won't go crazy stuck in a bed 90 days. You've got to be the kind of person who stays busy and has things to do. And, I took the time I learned a little sign language. I read a lot of books. We had movie nights together with the other, subjects that were there. And, of course, then I started that blog thinking that, just like my mom and my hockey friends would read it. And then, of course, my God, it blew up.
And we're going to recommend that people visit your place on Blogspot. It's Pillownaut, Pillownaut, one word, pillownaut.blogspot.com, where you talk about your experiences and your life. And I also have links to a lot of other information about these studies, which have been going on for a long time. We'll get to that in a second. Were you actually in bed the entire time? They let you get up now and then, right?
No, never. Once you go head down, they put the bed at a -6 degree tilt so that all the blood rushes to your head, simulating microgravity. It takes all the pressure off the lower extremity, and once you're there, that's your launch day when they do that, and then you're lying down for 90 days straight. Although I think the program's been modified now to 60 days, but no matter what, during the head down period, you don't move. You shower lying down. everything.
Everything else, all the stuff they ask astronauts how they do when they're on orbit.
You do not get up for any reason.
I'll be darned. Did you, at any point during these 50 days, say, I must be crazy, I never should have done this?
Yes, of course. Yeah, I wouldn't be a human if I hadn't had a couple of those moments. You have to get used to doing things from a different angle. So there are daily challenges. So yeah, there was a couple of times where I thought, oh gosh, what did I get myself into? But I had solid reasons for doing it. I wanted to contribute. I'm interested in the science. I wanted to see if I could do it. Everybody wants to test themselves and see if they can hack what an astronaut goes through.
I don't know about everybody, but I'd love to try.
I get a lot of applications.
What happened on that 50th day when, they had to move you out to get out of the way of the hurricane, but how was it standing up for the first time in that long a period?
Very painful, very painful. It's like knives shooting up into your feet the first time you touch the ground, yeah. And got my blood pressure shot up, and over the next couple of days I had such muscle aches. I was like shuffling along. I looked like I was about 120 years old. But when a storm the size of Texas itself is headed towards you, you just move. Yeah, we didn't question it. We had to get up, we got up, and we got out of there. But I'll find out in a couple of days if my bone density is good enough for me to get back into another program later. So I might do it again.
So you're going into another scan, and you actually want to try this again?
I hope so. I'm pretty type A. It irritates me when I don't get to finish things that I've started. So I'd love to complete a successful program.
We'll continue our visit with NASA bed rest research participant Heather Archuletta in a minute. This is Planetary Radio.
I'm Sally Ride. After becoming the first American woman in space, I dedicated myself to supporting space exploration and the education and inspiration of our youth. That's why I formed Sally Ride Science, and that's why I support the Planetary Society. The Society works with space agencies around the world and gets people directly involved with real space missions. It takes a lot to create exciting projects like the first solar sail, informative publications like an award-winning magazine, and many other outreach efforts like this radio show. Help make space exploration and inspiration happen. Here's how you can join us.
You can learn more about the Planetary Society at our website, planetary.org/radio, or by calling 1-800-9-WORLDS. Planetary Radio listeners who aren't yet members can join and receive a Planetary Radio t-shirt. Members receive the internationally acclaimed Planetary Report magazine. That's planetary.org/radio. The Planetary Society, exploring new worlds.
Welcome back to Planetary Radio. I'm Matt Kaplan. Heather Archuletta didn't get out of bed for 50 days, and she wants to do it again for even longer. Heather is one of many non-astronauts who have helped prepare us for long-duration spaceflight by simulating weeks or months in a weightless or microgravity environment. It took a hurricane to get her out of that NASA bed last September. The first few days were agony, especially for someone who had always led a very active life. Keep in mind that she didn't even get to do the rigorous exercises that are part of the daily routine for orbiting astronauts. She feels the effects even now. Well, how are you feeling now? What is it, almost 6 months later?
6 months later. I'm actually feeling great. I exercise a lot. I eat really well, so I healed pretty quickly. But a few things have hung on. I still have a little back pain. Still get a little stiffness in my feet. I think that's my bone density trying to regrow itself. I do still get fatigue. That comes on pretty unexpectedly sometimes.
I mentioned about these studies that have been going on for a long time. You pointed me to a nice article, in fact it's on your Blogspot site, about the pioneer in this, who was doing it very nearly, or maybe it was 50 years ago.
Oh my gosh, yeah. When I first heard about this, I thought it sounded kind of interesting. I didn't realize that this had been going on since the late 1950s. I think it started in the military, but Dr. Dwayne Graveline was one of the first groups of astronauts that they singled out for jet pilot training in the 1950s. And he was the very first scientist who tried both bed rest and water immersion to study effects of microgravity. Because, of course, back then they were only going to send people up for 2-3 days at a time. Now we're looking at trips to Mars, which will take, 18 months.
So you stand on the shoulders of a lot of others who've been part of these studies. It's interesting to me that 50 or more years later, there's still more for us to learn about how the human body responds to these conditions that are so totally alien.
Oh, absolutely. And the studies in the 60s and 70s, I think they learned about physiological changes. The studies that are going on now, and actually the Russian and European space agencies are preparing to do a 520-day study, which I think will yield a lot more information about the psychological effects as well. So each time it's done, and every time a different agency does it, they concentrate on different things, they study different things, and I think we find a new rich tapestry of possibilities every time they do.
What kinds of kudos and attagirls did you get from NASA and the space community? I mean, I saw some pictures of astronauts dropping in to thank some of your colleagues.
Yeah, that was really nice. I actually I met one astronaut while I was there, and another one recorded a message to us thanking us for going through the bed rest studies, because it means that they don't have to do as much countermeasures up in space with us down there doing it. Yeah, I found so many people that were interested in it. Even I was surprised that as time went on, I got so many readers and so many people sending me nice messages. And, well, a lot of people come right out and tell me that I'm crazy. But, that's okay, too. That's okay, too.
Your interest in doing this again, it's not just for you. I mean, you frequent events. What is it? Texas Space Week, I guess, has been underway or was underway. And
yes, it's still underway right now. It's still going on.
So you go to these things and what? Hand out brochures?
I do, yeah. I'm always on the lookout for any bulletin board where I can put up my flyers, and I'm armed with pamphlets all the time with NASA, and I get a lot of requests from parents who want me to send, little toys or stickers to their kids and stuff, little NASA packets and things like that.
What does somebody do if they'd like to be considered for one of these studies?
Oh, well, NASA has a site, although unfortunately right now it's down for maintenance, but that should be up very soon. I've got the brochures on my blog, and you can click to NASA from there, where there's a bunch of phone numbers that you can call and see if you're eligible. I also have a breakdown of the screening process on my blog and every step that you would have to pass if anybody's curious.
Let's go back to the other things you do in your life that have a lot to do with space stuff. I mean, you really are quite an enthusiast. You were telling me offline that you go to launches, you've seen a lot of the Apollo capsules. You really dig this stuff, don't you?
Yeah, I'm a big planetarium fan, belong to the Academy of Sciences. I've seen 2 shuttles take off. Yeah, I even went to the Walk of Fame in Los Angeles once to see the little star for the Apollo 11 guys. Hollywood and Vine.
It's interesting. I didn't even know that was there. As many times as I've been on Hollywood Boulevard. And we should note that you're a native Californian, so I guess maybe you had other opportunities. Is there a community? I mean, do you at least virtually hang out with a lot of other people who feel the way that you do? Maybe they're not scientists or aerospace engineers or astronauts, but they just love this stuff.
Yes. Oh, and everybody seems to love this stuff when they learn about it. Everybody's always excited about, when we're going to the moon next and who's going to the space station next. And the NASA channel, I think, did a lot for the, modern interest. But, yeah, I get a lot of questions. I get a lot of emails from people who want to know how to join the study, and I get a great response for when I post events and things like that. It's been a real eye-opener.
Heather, we're about out of time. Thank you so much. It has been really fun to talk to you, and I hope that you get your wish granted. You get into that second bed rest study, and just keep being enthusiastic, like the rest of us who listen to this radio show.
Oh, well, likewise, and thank you so much for having me. It's been great to talk to you.
You bet. Heather Archuletta is an IT professional who lives ways outside of Austin, Texas, is able to get a lot of things done online, just as we've been having this Skype conversation. But she is, by her own description, a space enthusiast, enthusiastic to the point of getting involved by joining a NASA bed rest study that kept her prone actually a little worse than prone, with her head lower than her feet for 50 days last year. And again, we will put up a link to her site, pillownaut.blogspot.com, at planetary.org/radio, as we always do. And as we